And we're live. Welcome to Music Matters with Jason Tramm, and thank you so much for joining us for our unique podcast community, where we explore the triumphs and challenges of the performing arts world as seen through the eyes of distinguished colleagues. As you can see, we are live and in person today, and we're in historic Founders Park in Ocean Grove, New Jersey, which is my summer house, and I love it here in my community. And we're so excited to talk about a great event, the 68th Annual Ocean Grove Choir Festival. The title of this year's festival is Lift High the Cross. And on Sunday, July 10th at 7 o'clock in the Great Auditorium, there's going to be a wonderful festival. It's going to feature 8 prominent guest conductors, the Great Auditorium Quartet, and Monica Ziglar is the Soprano Soloist in the Great Auditorium Quartet, and Thomas Berdos is one of the solo guest conductors. He's also playing piano in a couple of the anthems as well, because he's a wonderful guy. So we're very fortunate to talk about this today, and this is one of my favorite shows of the year. This is the third time we're doing one of these episodes to talk about the festival, because the festival, I find, in its 68th year is unlike anything else that I ever have done. And when I came here 16 years ago, it was kind of, I had no idea what to expect, and it was kind of shocking to me as Lou Daniels explained it to me. I still couldn't picture it until I was there. And then I became, now it's one of my favorite things to do all year. I look forward to it and program it mostly in December, and I think about it, conceptualize, and bring in my colleagues, and it's such a pleasure to do. So to see our past 300 episodes of Music Matters, check out our website at www.jasontram.net. And away we go. So, Monica, what is your, give us a memory of the choir festival. You've been around. When did you start at Ocean Grove?
I started in 1997. I did 2 years of half seasons. I was subbing for then Caroline Wisnett, who was the.
I actually met her in other places. I think it's so interesting.
She was the soprano soloist here, and she was going over to Europe to do the audition circuit, and then got picked up. So,
what was your connection to Ocean Grove?
I sang, I still do. I sing with Gordon Turk in Pennsylvania.
Dr. Turk's been on the show twice as a guest, and one of our favorite guests.
So I had been singing with him for a few years. I knew all of the players. I had worked with Kevin Short in Philadelphia. He sang with our St. Mary's Choir very often. So apparently a lot of singers came from Gordon's recommendations out of Philadelphia.
Yeah, Gordon's he's a wellspring of great information.
Yeah.
Now, but you're not from Philadelphia or New Jersey originally.
No. I was born in Illinois, but I've lived most of my life was in Tucson, Arizona. Went to school out there and went to university out there. And that's where I started with my serious choral singing out there. Solo singing as well, but the choral singing was equally as part.
What brought you to Philadelphia?
I auditioned. I was looking actually to go to Peabody, and I was doing an audition circuit on the East Coast, and my teacher said, "You need to go sing for the Academy of Vocal Arts."
AVA,
and
absolutely.
So I did, and it was just a last minute, made the arrangements, had no idea that Danielle Orlando was going to be accompanying me. Came in, and I didn't know who anybody was, and just sang, and they said, "You want to come this fall?" And I said, "Sure, I'm there." So I just started there. That was in the mid-90s, and went there for 4 years, and then ended up staying, got married, and stayed.
Well, your husband's on the call. Scott Ziglar says, "Get her done," is the quote on the on the screen. So shout out to Scott Ziglar, who sings tenor in the Ocean Grove Choir and one of our great singers. So shout out to Scotty. So Tom Berdos, tell us about your background and what was your first year doing choir festival?
I was trying to remember that. I think it was 99 or close to 90. And I was trying to remember how I got linked in. How did Lou Daniels meet me, and how did that happen? Honestly, it's been a long day and it's not coming back. But anyway, It's sort of like when you said had to see it. I remember the first choir festival. Could not sound even singing the dog song chorus of.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing like the hymns, the hymnody with all the brass and the organ and the singers. And that is really my favorite part of the service.
it
To
really
hear
is,
that, it just strikes me every year.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And there's no one that's not singing.
Yeah.
That the only ones not singing, I've not sung a couple of times, but it's only because I'm in awe of
My throat will close up. I'm like,
Yeah.
I have nothing to add.
They're coming to sing because it's a gift to be in that kind of environment.
Yeah.
With that kind of organ and brass
Yeah.
and chorus. It is such a gift.
Yeah.
To be able to.
So tell us about your background, and I know you're an accomplished educator, church musician, pianist, conductor. So tell us about your background.
Sure. From Massachusetts and went to University of Lowell and met my wife in church there, and so that quickly became.
Shout out to Deborah.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a while ago. We've been doing music ministry together.
What a blessing to do it together. That's really wonderful.
Yeah, she's at the organ, and when we do the remote rehearsal, she's at the organ playing the parts, and I'm conducting, and so she's my right arm, sure. But we started off in Massachusetts in our college town, church for about 10 years. So.
Wow.
Jersey.
And you were at a private school in New Jersey for a long time?
Yeah, I was at Pingree.
Pingree School, sure.
Yeah, and 19 wonderful years there.
Now, where are you now?
Now we are in Lancaster. I'm teaching at Linville Hill Christian School in Cap. And I remember when you did the Zoom call.
I had a great time. The kids were really interested. And they're like, who is this crazy guy?
No, that was good. I really appreciate that. You're taking time with those 4 students.
There's nothing like working with students. That's one of my favorite things is to watch them. And yeah, I've got a few of my graduates at Seton Hall are going to come and sing in the festival this year. And I'm so excited to see them. And it's just one of the things we do is watch people grow. Absolutely. And there's nothing more exciting than that.
Absolutely. So I'm trying to get my kids into the choir fest, and I have one student this year who's singing.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, he'll be up there. He's coming down to turn pages for me. He doesn't know it's 2 pieces yet.
He's singing, right?
What's that?
He's singing, right?
Oh yeah, he's a bass.
Even if he does, I'll give him a packet. He'll be singing.
Yeah, he'll be singing. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm there. Our church is in Mount Joy. It's Chickies United Methodist. So we're in Mount Joy, Pennsylvania, and sing online, a lot of Jersey, and just keeping very busy.
Wow. Well, it's wonderful. It's all we can do these days as we're building back out of COVID. It's been a wild year for my university job and my choral societies. And it's so interesting to watch things come back. I mean, it feels, some things feel like a little like it's like the wheels have to get turning, and we're kind of reminding people how to do this. Like, oh, yeah, things like this, like the festival, like getting back out there with people. And I know for 2 years, it was so crazy to think that for 2 years we didn't make those noises with those sounds. We didn't have ensemble this way.
No.
And it's, I think that everyone's ready for that again.
Definitely.
There's something very therapeutic about being back in the doing it live. I met people tonight that first met during the Zoom year, and it was so good to see them in person. Just that being in the same room, making the music, something to your heart, because we all wanted it back. Have it come back.
Yeah, the Zoom thing was, it was a great way to keep communities together when we could.
Yeah.
But nothing replaces live music making because it's about people. It's about we give our, everyone comes together, the voices come together, and it's the most powerful thing there is. With let's talk about some of the memories we've had over the years. I mean, what I love about the festivals, and the more I research it, the more I find out that I didn't know, like the conductors who came here. And so, Monica, you work with a lot of conductors. What are some of the conductors that have made an impact on you over the years?
Well, I would have to say that the names they all escape me, but there's always the conductors that come in and it's almost as if they don't even know the piece, and it doesn't matter. They're absolutely moved by the piece itself, with standing in front of the choir and then realizing that they can absolutely amplify it. I do enjoy working with her name has escaped me, the woman who's on the program from Middletown, that she's going to be doing. That's
her first year. That's Milena Towers.
And
she's a first-year conductor.
It's very exciting to see somebody like that for their first time. She knows instrumentation, but to have the amplification of the voices on top of it, it's almost as if that she's moved by that. And those kind of conductors are the ones that I really like to watch.
Great energy and get a lot of fun. Yeah, she told me about her church job. She's actually born in Cuba, and her journey took her to Central America, and then she went to her graduate degree, I believe, in Texas, and then it brought her to the United States, and now she's thriving in a church in Middletown. I think she started with 15 singers, now it's over 100. And most of them are coming. I'm like, wow. We love to hear those stories, and I met her, and she's one of those dynamos, out there just pounding the pavement, and you will come.
It's always good too to see people who think they can conduct choir too, and they come in with a little bit of, they got a little bit of attitude. I'm so and so out of New York, or I go over to Europe and I can conduct all these choirs, and they walk in and they're like, I have no idea how to get control of 800 singers that are spanned out over a quarter of a mile.
It's like a football field way, a football field that way. It's kind of crazy. I remember the first time I did it, I was like, I was in the job interview, and I didn't know a lot about Ocean Grove, and they're like, yeah, we have 1,000 singers sometimes in the choir. I'm like, 100 singers in the choir? Like, that's a big choir. Yeah. For most situations, 100 singers is a pretty big choir.
Yeah.
But that first year, it was just shocking, and it's that energy. Everyone combined worship is so powerful.
Yeah. Well, and then you've got people who think they may conduct large professional choirs, or they'll have a choir come in with their orchestra, and they're all professionals that can sing two or 300 singers, but this is purely volunteer, and these people are just coming here to get it out, get the word of God out, and they are letting it all hang out. And people, it's overwhelming sometimes to watch some of the conductors they're moved, and they didn't expect to be. And
we all do a lot of, I do a lot of guest conducting, and I'll show up somewhere and not know a whole lot about what I'm doing sometimes. But, I've watched some guest conductors get up there and it just lights up. Mm-hmm. And some have a little more trouble, but it's the type of thing where you have to get comfortable in the situation. Yeah. It's about moving a lot of people and getting them on your side. Yeah. What was your first piece you conducted, Tom?
Let This Mind Be in You.
Craig Courtney. Yeah, I know, that's a beautiful one.
It was a special memory the year Craig was here, and he was at the piano.
Yes.
Well, we did that, and you gave a testimony during the program. That was really moving to me. Just talk about moving, the sense of being moved by all of these singers. And it's not the professional chorus. This is the salt of the earth choir members from everyone's church. Mm-hmm. And they sneak out and attend Ocean Grove rehearsals. And man, it's very, very emotional to do pieces with this group, and to walk up there and not know what it's going to be like to conduct 1,000 people and not know which way to look, and to try to find that. And you have 20 minutes to go from ground zero to pretty much a finished performance. Mm-hmm. But what a thrill, because they're all with you and everyone's working together. And that's a really special thing about this choir is it's not just the conductor, it's all of us together. Yeah. And all of us together making this music. There's nothing like it.
Now you're a conductor and an educator like I am, and we went through the horrors and the challenges we all face with COVID and virtual and Zoom and all the things we did to keep our communities together. What's it like coming out of there for you? I know for me, my first performances back were incredibly emotional. First chord I heard, I was crying. The first the first time we did an anthem, I was all sobbing on the floor. But what was it like for you getting back into it again?
It's still emotional. We've technically been sort of out of COVID. I went to my present church to bring them out of COVID, have the choir go. We did Messiah, we did a choir festival, and it's still emotional to actually be in the room and to hear the singing. You have to just, the emotion hits you, but then you have to know notes, let's get this done.
I have a job to do. I have to actually keep it together.
But it's like this longing that we all longed to have it back. It's such I don't think I'll ever appreciate it more than we didn't know what we had.
Right.
And then it came back, and it's like.
We talk on the show a lot with them. It's almost our 300th episode. We've talked to so many different types of artists about what we've all lost and how we've become innovative in new ways. And I think that it's taught us a lot. What's something that it's taught you, COVID taught you about yourself and your music making?
Well, one of the things that it really taught me to be more open to communicating with the other choir members that I found, to not just be that I'm going to come in and I'm the soloist and I'm going to do this. It's like starting from square one again, and I had to relearn to sing again in a choral setting, or as a soloist, I had to relearn how to get it back together, because sitting in front of a mic, you weren't engaging in anything.
So tell the audience about the joys of doing Zoom recordings. So you have to realize that Ocean Grove, it's a large volunteer choir. And my son Quentin, who's behind the scenes here, he did all the editing for these. Him and I did over 100 virtual choir and orchestra projects during COVID.
Yeah, they were very interesting.
We never want to hear the word virtual choir again. Maybe as a joke someday,
I feel as though I could do karaoke anywhere, as long as it's some kind of choral or sacred setting. I got it down, and I did expand a little bit. As the soprano, you always have the melody, and I did expand myself and sing second and sing alto on some of the recordings, so that I felt like I could branch out, and I was sending in multiple sets of myself, which was kind of fun. It was like, hey, that's me. And
there's a thing that doesn't work. If you send, like, let's say we have Monica sending in a recording and we record that same recording over and over again, it phases it out. It actually doesn't work. So we would need we would need different takes. Then there would be two Monicas, like, which we want. But if we use the same one twice, it doesn't work. It phases itself out.
Yeah.
All the things we learned during COVID.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I learned how to get technical myself.
I would never want to go through COVID again and to do that. But I have to say, the virtual choir experience was, it was good to learn something new. And I learned in a virtual choir that if someone sings a wrong note, you can mute them. And you can balance out the singers and take the loud singers and make them quieter. And you can bring them alive. You can make an absolutely perfect ensemble in a virtual choir.
Or certain some things we can't do live, more this and that. But there it's like
you get to know everyone's voice really well.
My son knew every singer in the choir. He could tell like their strengths. And with rhythmic, he would knew everyone's voice by the end, because we would have 60 people submitting, and every week we get the same.
But that's the beauty of singing live now, is that you have to deal with it. Yeah. You have to know that there's going to be 50 altos that are just going to be bellowing out and going, "We've got this," when it's it wasn't their lead, and you've got to learn to be able to communicate with them again and talk with people, and that was what was missing for a lot of the stuff I was doing.
And we had to capture those skills back too, as directors
and
conductors, because we did the virtual thing and had all of that together. But then to get back in the group, I felt for a while almost like, how do I move my arms? What do I do? How do I get back into
mine were going the wrong direction?
Yeah. But what a joy to get it back.
I know.
But it wasn't.
It took time. It took time. The actual communication, the actual like making a phrase up, and like people need a little extra loving care. I mean, I'm finding that with my college choirs and my choral societies. Everyone's kind of like, just feeling their way again.
Yeah.
But it's worth it.
And I think that's the nice thing about bringing back the festival. I'm fearful for the lineage of festivals like this, because I think once you lose something, once you go away from it, once you walk away from it, it's how easy is it for you not to come back? But for people who are really committed to preserving the prayer through music, this is the fundamentals of it, and this you learn it in a group setting that's so big that then it spreads out. This is church groups from all over the country, people coming from all over the country just to see it.
I was talking to someone from Texas who came in for the rehearsal tonight. That was the dress rehearsal. So these two amazing people just came from the dress rehearsal where we worked for really hard for 2.5 hours, and here we
got
are.
in trouble
A little bit.
Yeah, we can't work together or rehearse together too closely because I'll just tell him to go do it.
Too much fun.
And I was over singing. He was wailing on the piano, wailing on the piano, and I thought it was great myself. But.
You'll be amplified on. You don't have to wail as hard. You'll be because the organ will be much louder.
Good luck making me quieter. I don't know.
Gordon's got a lot of pipes to deal with. He was playing it was kind of he doesn't put the high pressure blowers on.
No, he was
Sunday.
a little subdued.
I was kidding.
I was like, I can't hear you.
That won't be a problem on Sunday. That's another thing. We have one of the unique organs in this building. The building is the instrument, so it's.
I was going to comment on that. One of the things that makes coming back with atmosphere is the room we're in. And I was in the back listening to you do the last one. Vaughan Williams, there's not a bad seat in that house. That
no,
just the way it's laid out, you can take the amount of singers we had tonight, which is a fraction of what we used to have in the pre-COVID days. They still sound so good.
Mm-hmm. It really sounded good. Yeah. Dr. Cindy Bell, who's not feeling great, she was supposed to be here, but she's not feeling so great. So I said, go home and rest. Take that off. And we were saying it sounds awesome. Like the sound is visceral and powerful, and people are really into it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, every conductor we get up there tonight, I'm watching, and I just love to watch that. I'm singing along and kind of just getting excited because it's one of my favorite things is to watch the different conductors and their points of view musically. And we do that differently. It's interesting to watch that. It's always so interesting how different we are.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is an interesting aspect of it. It's not just for singing, but for the audience to come in. It's a show, this open-aired building that is so acoustically sound that it could actually be overwhelming. When we get into that Sunday night mode with brass band playing, organs going, 600 to 800 singers are going to be up there singing. It will be so overwhelming to somebody sitting way in the back, maybe even standing outside, that it'll just be as clear as if they were sitting right.
Have you heard the speakers outside? They put in in the park.
I've seen them.
They put in granite. They're amazing. Little super high definition.
They look like rocks.
They're wonderful.
Yeah, they're great.
I'm hearing all this great music.
I wondered what that was for, and I thought
they're going to broadcast it in the park. I think it's the coolest thing. They're doing like the Bible hour. You hear the preacher, you hear the music. I'm like, that is so cool.
Yeah.
I didn't realize what it was until Mike Badger pointed it out. Mike Badger was on the show last year. We did it from the auditorium, and he was so wonderful to talk about. Has done a great job, and I think these type of touches are so good because a lot of people walk past the auditorium and they'll hear, stop and listen. And,
right.
I think that's just wonderful.
Well, it's nice too when you can set your beach chairs up and just walk right off the beach and set up in the park, and
it's a totally unique space because we have people that come from all over. I was saying one of my dear friends came in from Ocean Grove, lived here. She moved to California, and she comes every year, every festival. Another person came back from Texas, and they come here and they come back, and we all get together and we get to make really a blessing.
Yeah.
I find that in my different worlds and lives, jobs I've had over the 6 years I've been here, so many of people from other jobs come. We meet up here again.
Yeah.
Years ago. I sang in a choir when I was 2005 or so.
Yeah.
Here they are again. I think that's such a cool.
Well, and we have people come in year after year. You do lose people, but the same people keep coming. You create your own traditions.
I always say once you come, you're going to come back. It's such a powerful tradition.
Definitely.
And we have to keep on reminding people that tradition is very beautiful. It's really worth fighting. That's why I put this podcast together, because I think it's so important. I think that people come and give it a try, come to the festival, sing next year. I think it's really an outstanding thing. It's not like community music.
Yeah. It's not overly preachy. So if you're not into that, it's okay. If you're just in for the good quality music, you're gonna get it. Doesn't matter who's conducting, doesn't matter who's singing. It's all gonna be good.
We all give our hearts and souls.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing. I'm always amazed. There are a lot of people who moonlight. The people come in from New York. I have friends who sing, who are professional singers. They'll just pop in.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of church music directors too. I'm always fascinated by my friends who are like, "Oh yeah, I came last year to choir festival." Like, Why didn't you say
Where
hello?
were you?
Why didn't you say hello? You know?
Why didn't you stop by? Well, there was 3,000 people there. I couldn't see.
I just think it's so much fun to meet people, and that I'm a natural extrovert, but it's just such a great experience to see everyone every year, and to meet new friends and to bring new people into the tradition.
I'm excited to have
That's great.
my high school. Actually, I'm hoping to see that expand what we do locally. We do our local programs. Monica, it was great to have you from Messiah last year,
Yeah.
and we're working on this year too. But we do those, and then we bring these people in. And what we're doing in Lancaster is to try to build the thing that I want to put a lot of energy in is the Ocean Grove.
Fun.
Because I think that is literally a group coming back from COVID, and it has lost some steam. But we had such good participation this year. We didn't have a ton of numbers, but we had great singers that were some there tonight, excited about what they learned, and we can do that. But I'm hoping to bring in those high schoolers.
I hear these, like, whenever I see young people up there, I always want to shake their hands, where you're from.
The young ones, yes.
Yeah. I think it's important that whether they're young, whether they're old, I think that's one of the great things about the church is it's multi-generational.
Absolutely.
And we have to pass the torch down. I think it's so important that we keep on, reaching out our hands.
And you can have the young and the old singing together.
Oh,
There's nothing like it.
Yep.
Nothing like it.
Yep.
And it's just everybody.
That's God's family.
That's a tradition that is handed down. That when I first started singing here, I sat next to the guard, and that was these ladies that sat right in the front, and they knew every hymn by rote. They wrote the book for Ocean Grove hymns. They would if you didn't know a piece, they'd do this for you. So while you're singing your hymn, they would give you the notes, and I'm like, I learned half of the hymns here from just watching these ladies. Or they'll hit you and they'll go on.
I think that's it. I'm like, I'm gonna capture a picture of my fastball high note.
That's just how and that's how a lot of these young people, they don't have that. They don't understand it. And to be able
It's
to
less church choirs. So a lot of praise bands have become so big, but there's more choral singing in schools, and there's certainly viable, very very good choral programs in schools. So we have to keep on.
Well, even in the praise bands, it's interesting. We have in our church back in PA, we've rented out space to another denomination that comes later in the day, and they have a praise band, and I hear them rehearsing, and they're rehearsing hymns that we do. Yeah. And I come in, I'll walk in on their rehearsal, and I'll start singing just by rote, and they're like, how do you know this? And I'm like, what do you think, this is new? It just because you put a bass drums to it, it doesn't make it new or fancy. This has been around a while, and I sing in the land where a lot of these were created. So
people don't realize that in the early late 1890s and the early 1900s, this was a lot of people would come here and spend time. And they would partner up with the composers and librettists, and they, like Fanny Crosby, would write pieces like "Blessed Assurance" was written here in Ocean Grove the first time, performed for the first time here. Yeah. And there was a lot of that. So we have our own kind of core signature hymns that are "How Great Thou Art." The words were written here. Yeah.
And to carry on those traditions, it's just. I think that's the nice thing too about coming back from COVID. It's not just the youth. There are older people that are coming back who saw what they could do sitting behind a safety of a computer or, the camera, and they could do, I'll just sing myself. But now they're coming back live, and they're starting to join in. There are a lot of new participants that didn't think they could do it just because they tried it at home in the safety. Yeah. And then thought, well, maybe I'll give it a try. And
other innovations, we do Zoom streaming rehearsal because we're like regional, because we have really far for people from Lancaster to come here. They can't come to every rehearsal. We start rehearsing mid-June, Tuesday, Friday. But if you can't come now, every one we stream from the auditorium. People can watch and practice at home. Yeah, I think that's something we learned and we offer now, because I think it's really valuable for people to work on their own. When they come here, it's much more.
And if you don't get them now, you may get them later. And or they may go to their church and then start something live. And that's what you have to take away from all of this streaming that we've been doing, is that it may not just benefit here, but it's going to benefit somewhere.
Yeah, and I want to just comment, Jason, you're keeping singing going. Really inspired me to make sure that my main musicians remained active in some way. I want to thank you for that. I mean, you really inspired all of us to not give up. And I think that that simple message of don't give up was what we need.
I think all the singers needed it too. We
all needed
it. And there were times when it was, so in some ways it was kind of depressing to go to the auditorium. It was just me, Gordon, and Quentin. Like, the three of us.
We'd be sitting in our places, and we could hear the organ playing, and I'm like, this is so weird.
Well, when I came in and I did the virtual conducting in the auditorium, it was the weirdest thing in the world. They were tuning the organ. So the organ's playing these random pitches, and I have headphones on listening to something, and I'm conducting. All of that was okay. What was really disheartening was to see the
empty and
dark.
Yeah.
I have never seen it dark.
Yeah.
And I walked in and this is really awful.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything about the technology or the virtual sense. It was, this room's dark, and this room should not ever be. It's not dark anymore. So praise God.
We would have 100 people in church. That was the limit for a while. But we had a lot of people watching online, and they would really enjoy the anthems, and that made me feel good. That we can find ways. We have to be. We have to bloom where we're planted, right? We have no choice.
That's it.
I like to remind people, I'm like, this isn't like a once in a lifetime. This is a once in multi-generational. I mean, like in the history of, I always remind people, in the history of the Metropolitan Opera on Broadway, we've never closed for more than 3 days in a row. And I'm talking like 9/11, the Spanish flu. Those things didn't close these organizations.
Yeah.
COVID did for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is like once in multiple lifetimes. I mean, since the history of like those venerable organizations.
Yeah.
So this is like multiple lifetimes worth of, and we've had to come out of it and figure out our way again. And but that's what we do as musicians and artists. We have to bring people's spirits up.
Well, and the camp meeting, you mentioned things like 9/11 that I think COVID really did affect a lot of people in an awkward way. When we had situations like 9/11, that brought people here. We had more people coming back. We were done with our season for here when 9/11 hit, and we all came back the minute we could. Everybody who had disbanded came back, and we stayed here, and we just got together for one more time. And then the next season after 9/11, everybody was concerned about the safety of numbers and the caution and all of these ill effects. And even today, with all of the things going on in the world, all of these nasty, horrible events, you have to be able to come together. And in a place like the Great Auditorium, it can happen anywhere, doesn't matter. But the fact that we can all come together and bring it up, lift it up, you have to be able to do it.
I think it's so special in that venue with the acoustics being so amazing. I mean, you think like a violin, the older the wood gets, the more dense the overtones get, and the more complicated. Well, think of the 150-year-old wood in that building. I mean, that's what it's just such magic, and it's shaped like a tortoise shell on both sides. So you get this. We call it the arc. You get this incredible sound that just goes out there, and it makes everything sound better.
Yeah, and
choral
even
singing, orchestra.
I do remember the 1 year after they did have to replace a lot of the wood in the ceiling, and it takes quite an effort to do that. And they did it during the summer, so you could actually see part of it being done. And I remember a lot of the performances, people were just like, it's not going to sound the same, and it's not going to do this, and it's not going to do that. And I'm like, it'll be okay. It's just get a little weather on it. It'll be fine.
Now, as a singer singing in the auditorium, a few famous singers have sung in there, right? We've people we consider like legends, like Enrico Caruso and Lawrence Tibbett and Rosa Poncel. And as an opera conductor, that is really wild to me. That I walk in there, like Caruso sang here. 7 American presidents have spoken on this stage. Isn't that wild? Like to think about all the praise that's been done here. Billy Graham preached here, and Billie Holiday preached here. I mean, all these great names. And but I think the best is yet to come. I think that there's so much that God uses here, and I think that I think we have a lot of work to do.
We definitely do. I do appreciate the fact that when you're in there, it takes a few years to get used to how to be in there. It's just I'm sure the first year Gordon played, and I'm sure the first year that Ronald Naldi sang in there was not like it is now.
I was scared to death my first year.
Yeah, and
I was too.
Lou Daniels put me back together, and it was just
It's very intimidating.
It is
But
extremely.
Once you realize that these people are with you,
Yeah.
and you're making music with 1,500 people
Yeah.
for the glory of God, then it's like, what nerves?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it comes over you.
Yeah.
But to walk up, the hardest part is
That first.
Isn't that wild?
that's
Yeah.
the hardest
That
part of
first walk up.
it. It sure is.
It's very and as a soloist too, it's very nerve
I
wracking.
bet.
I lost my voice the first festival. I couldn't talk for a week afterwards.
It's so easy to oversing.
And
I lose my voice every year.
And Ronald kept saying, stop singing so much, stop singing so loud, stop singing so loud. And I was just like,
And just so you know, when you go to the festival and you hear it, and there's a big fortissimo, and the choir is singing as loud as they can, and the brass is playing, and the organ is playing as loud as they can, you can always hear Monica on an A above everybody else, as if you're sitting next to her. So it's unhuman what you do up there.
It's the German nature in me that can laser through anything.
I tell you, it's pretty amazing. It could be a 700 voice choir with brass; doesn't matter.
The more the merrier.
Yeah.
If it's a bigger choir, the better I get. So that just tells you it needs to be a big choir.
You brought up one of our dear colleagues, Lou Daniels, who was the music director where I held now for 40 years almost.
Yeah.
And I was blessed to get to know him before he passed, and I spent some time with him. As really, he was a very great guide. He programmed the first festival when I was here, and I got to watch it come together and talk about it. And I got to be rather friendly with him, and just he would always he gave me some great guidance.
Yeah.
So nice
It's interesting. A lot of the pieces that are on this festival make me think of him.
Yeah.
Interesting, yeah.
There's a couple of pieces. The Leaning on the Everlasting Arms makes me think of him. I did Blessed Assurance with him.
That version, that arrangement,
that-
the Nancy
that was
Wirtz arrangement.
Yeah.
She's conducted that here too.
I think yes.
Cindy remembered it.
Yeah. And those kind of pieces, there was something about the way Lou conducted, and then
Completely unconventional.
Totally.
I mean, because I watched him, I'm like,
how did you get it?
But it worked.
It worked.
It worked. It was like Jedi mind.
single
He would just like,
time.
he had so much energy and
Yep.
spirit. And like the technique. I'm a professor of conducting, and I
know.
do opera and symphonic work. And I'm watching, and I'm like, that's not going to hold together. And it did perfectly. I'm like,
Every time it would. And then he would do these ones where we would have the hymns, where the congregation would join in. We're going to have one of those on the festival.
oh yeah.
And he would just let the choir go. He'd turn around and the audience would just want to sing for him. And they would just, he was radiant at times when it was right. You would see the radiance, and he did have that aura about him. And it was just, and his wife Faith played the piano all the
I just
time.
saw Faith last week. She was at the quartet recital.
Yeah.
I was so happy to see her.
And she always played piano, and it was just always a wonderful music ministry to have the two of them as a team playing.
What a blessing to have a team of music ministers. I
Yeah.
think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, really nice.
Well, so we also, another part of the festival is the Great Auditorium Quartet will be singing a piece as well.
Yes,
What will you be singing?
we will do "Sing for Joy" by Handel.
And the other members of the quartet are, I'm going to get this right, Laura Zanzar, new mezzo-soprano. It's her first year here at Ocean Grove, and she's a real dynamite addition to the quartet.
Yeah, she'll be doing, she'll also be singing a little bit of a solo piece on Ride On.
Ride On King Jesus, Moses Hogan. Oh, yeah, I love that arrangement.
Yep.
We also have Ronald Naldi.
Ronald Naldi.
Venerable tenor soloist, and her artist in residence.
Yes.
I like to say him and Gordon came the year I was born in 1974. I make them feel old.
Yeah. And then we'll also have Justin Beck as our bass baritone. So it's
we just had the first quartet recital of the year, the first of the Songs on a Sunday Afternoon recital, and it was American music, and it was quite good and really well received, and it was great to see a big audience. So I can't wait to see what Sunday's going to bring, and a night of beautiful music making to the glory of God with great colleagues, friends, and I think we're in for a real special treat.
I hope so. I think it's going to.
So I want to thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Music Matters, and make sure you come this Sunday in the Great Auditorium in Ocean Grove, New Jersey at 7 o'clock for the 60th Annual Ocean Grove Choir Festival. The theme is Lift High the Cross, and either join in the choir or come and just sit in the congregation and sing along the hymns with us, but you are most welcome. It's a free will offering, free concert, so come and be a part of this tradition that has been around for a long time and in a unique place. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, and remember, keep music alive.
Amen.